How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson. We're here with the one and only Ash from Coffee and Cults to delve into Epstein, Andrew, a bit of royal shenanigans, and see what's been going on. But Ash, before we do that, how are you? What's been going on? Tell everybody how you're doing and introduce yourself for those who don't know you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ash, and like Ron said, I run the Coffee and Cults channel, and I do lots of deep dive stuff, lots of Hollywood things, but do also kind of dip my toes into certain other things like the Murdoch cases and then obviously the Epstein stuff. But with that stuff, I've mainly been focused on the royal side of things and ex-Prince Andrew and bits and pieces there, but I do plan on covering some other bits of royal stuff in the future too, and other bits of the Epstein case. And yeah, just love making videos. That's pretty much what I like to focus on, and I try and get about 3 videos out a month, and they're generally pretty hefty videos, between anything from like an hour to, I think the longest one is like 3 hours. So it just really depends on what the topic is.
Yeah, and it seems to be dying out, long form content. If I'm being honest with you, on YouTube, it seems to be you can show everything in an hour and a half. Why would you want to do that when we can just do fast cuts, and get it out in 8 minutes, right? And yeah, so anybody that wants to go and check out Ash's content, our links are obviously in the description. And today, Ash, we're delving into Epstein and Andrew. Like, where do you want to start with this? Like where would you like to start? Because it's quite a long list of things. So let me know where would you like to delve in first?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends whether you want to start with where kind of everything began with him and Epstein, and because that way you're kind of also able to, because even though there is so much stuff with Epstein, there's just so much other like corruption with him, and even a lot of stuff with how he behaved even outside of his relationship with Epstein. Because for the last video that I did about him, I have like a few people in my life that are close friends with certain, or like have friends that are close friends of certain members of the royal family. Like a lot of friends that I have are friends with Harry and like in his group, and like my cousin went to school with him. But also after I did my first video, I had a couple of staff members who used to work either for the Queen or Andrew who reached out, and they told me a lot of information about how he was with just palace staff and how he treated people, and like the whole just awful.
And what was the vibe with the palace staff?
I mean, just horrendous person, like in every possible way. Just exactly what you would imagine, like just so absolutely spoke to people like they were trash, and would call people up at 3 a.m. to come and like change the channel for him, and would just like absolutely blow up at people, scream at them. And I don't know whether you've heard about the book entitled that Andrew Lowney, he released that back in August, and it had anybody who's like really interested in the Andrew and Fergie side of things, like this book is absolutely a must read. It has so much stuff in it, and a lot of the stuff that was in that book in August has been confirmed through stuff that's come out through the file releases. And Andrew Lowney also has done like so many interviews where he's put out loads of other information about not only Andrew, but certain other prime ministers and other people that were kind of in the orbit. And he's also spoken about how there was just like a revolving door of women being brought in through Buckingham Palace and all these other places just constantly. And he just...
Yeah. And I mean, Andrew Lowney's book, what you were mentioning there about Fergie, right? I think everyone, when we talk about Prince Andrew, all eyes are on him, the story and all the rest. But Fergie has got a long history of shenanigans. Yeah. Like, she really, really does. And I mean, the stuff that came out in the Epstein files about Fergie towards Epstein, it was insane. How many royal princes or princesses or wives of princes was this guy involved with? Norway, the UK, Spain, like I think Spain as well. I mean, I could be wrong, but I mean, there was an obsession there. He seemed to be the matchmaker or connected to people that were matchmaking for some of the most powerful single royals in the world.
Yeah, it's just they're constantly it was how he collected information, and also that power of being able to not only have, oh, I have these pictures with this person, or like there's in a lot of the files it seemed as though whenever Epstein would be giving Fergie money and stuff like that, that whenever he would have friends or other like connected people that would be in London, that Fergie or the daughters would give these friends like tours of the palaces and stuff. So, and obviously, of course, like all of the information that he was also collecting and pictures and things, and having that blackmail material, like it just with having actors, directors, royalty, whatever it was, it's just this absolute plethora of information to use against people, and also the connections to, that make him look good.
Of course. And there was a never-ending list of connections, right? I mean, it was royals, it was CEOs, it was freaking talking about time travel and cloning, and the list, it was just, it's bonkers. And the sciences, and I don't understand how he found the time in the day. Like, I'll be honest with you, like he seemed to be highly motivated in what he was doing, but the man was everywhere and in everything. Like, it's a testament to the level of control and grip that he has over the world, or the group or the syndicate that he was part of had over the world, because everyone was involved in some way or another.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot of the stuff that I don't really see talked about too, with how he was like collecting all of these powerful people, is that when Epstein had that like sweetheart deal in Florida back in the, like, I think it was 2008, 2009, and they're actually Andrew was lobbying for him while that sweetheart deal was being put forward.
Yeah.
So that's, all these people that have all that other connections, and they're always helping each other out and stuff. And that it was a big thing that nobody talks about, that Andrew at that time, who is a senior member of the royal family and is this trade envoy position, that he is lobbying to try and get Epstein off of these like horrendous things. And, we all know that he just didn't eat, like he's sleeping in the prison like 2 nights a week or something like that, and got no punishment whatsoever.
Especially when we're talking about charges that come with mandatory sentences, Ash, right? And it's interesting you brought that up, because the corruption side of this is what people need to focus on. America doing nothing. I was talking about 9/11 the other day, and about how that's a great data point for showing how corruption and cover-ups can happen. And it's endless. It is endless with Epstein and with Andrew. And I don't get how America hasn't moved faster to dial in on some people, because you said yourself, they dialed in on Andrew real fast just to try and make sure he didn't hop the country, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, and it sounds stupid to say, but I feel like with what's going on in the world is a perfect distraction for everyone who hasn't been called in America to just bolt. And we've seen celebrities and some artists disappear. We've had a couple of people that have tried to unalive themselves after the files because of their connections. What do you think is going to happen next with, I mean, not so much in the UK, but what do you think is going to happen worldwide with these files? Are we going to see a reaction? Are we going to see a clear, signal being sent that we're not going to stand for this? But I mean, I just haven't seen it yet.
And the other thing too is I know Andrew Lowney appeared with Shaun too, and I think they talked about this, is that with, say, like, Andrew was arrested, or if anything else was going to happen with anyone else in the world, they've had all this time. What do you think, like, the first thing that they were doing when they realized that, like, the files are coming out and stuff, they're going to be getting rid of absolutely anything they can, like any bit of evidence, I think Andrew Lowney was talking about, like, things being buried and burned at Royal Lodge whenever he's being moved out and stuff like that. And so anyone in the US, I mean, of course, that's what's going to be, what probably already happened whenever all the files started coming out. Like anybody's just going to destroy whatever they can. Yeah.
And I mean, that's another thing. When you're saying about they were getting rid of evidence and things like this, like the suspicious timing and unaliving of Virginia Giuffre in all of this story as well, it really screams and stands out. I mean, I'd done an investigation where I couldn't find proof of life of Virginia for months before the bus crash story came about. And she was the loose end of loose ends in this story. You know, she was the one that was the poster child for, well, we all know she was there, okay, and there's been a deal. So if, you know, we were going to bring someone in, the world was paying attention to her. And, you know, I believe there was some horrific interventions from the hand of evil in her demise. And the shredding and the getting rid of documents, they're doing it now live, Ash, on the DOJ website. Like you can look at files one day and then the next day they're gone. And it seems to me that I cannot give this anything other than a stamp of they're hiding something and they're protecting something, because that's the impression they're given. They never gave us those files willingly. They were forced to give us those files, and then they act like they're doing us a favor. You know, what was your take on the build-up to the files being released with Kash Patel and Pam from the DOJ, and the way everything was being sold as, hey, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here, right? That was after, of course, Pam Bondi was like, the files are on my desk. We're getting through them. It's amazing. Like, what is your take on all of this? Because your head must be spinning with it.
Well, the wild thing too is I have been aware of Pam Bondi for so long, because even I think, I can't remember the exact year, but it has to be at least 15 years ago, when she was getting like her star in government and stuff, maybe even like very sort of city government level. She is from like the Tampa area where like I went to high school and lived and everything. So I remember even seeing like her signs and stuff. And even back then it was like, you know, not the greatest of reputations. But I think that if anything about this case, like there is nothing anymore that you can say that I wouldn't put something that I'm like, oh, that's possible to happen, because every time that, you know, they say, oh, there's nothing to see here, or there's, you know, no files or whatever, it's just always bullshit. Like every bit of it. I mean, I said in my last video about Andrew about 2 weeks ago that I remember in the 2000s reading celebrity blinds about Epstein and the island and stuff. And there's so many points through the last 20 years that people were like, oh, that, you know, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. And every single thing, it's like, oh no, that's actually happened. And they're just trying the same thing with, and whenever we actually finally get the files, the other thing too is that's such a small percent. And they've just seemingly released, you know, tips and like so much random stuff that it seems they just want to create like this mass confusion, and that probably are holding back like the stuff that is the most damning, of course. So I think that it's a lot more strategic, the release, to just create this.
Yeah, I agree with you. But here's the interesting thing. They've obviously sat around a table and went, right, Andrew's got to go. Right, because the stuff that they left in, the pictures of him over that woman, all the rest of it, like, I mean, that was a serious decision that was made. Do you think that is the case? Do you think that there was a preemptive of what pounds of flesh are going to be offered? When it comes to let's not include, say, the president or any of the people in his campaign, but when it comes to the people on the outside, like Andrew and things like this, do you think that this was all preordained to give us a pound of flesh, so to say?
I mean, I think, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell and stuff like that, it's obvious that Andrew and Fergie are people that she's kind of willing to, because there's so much stuff that it doesn't seem like there's any other way that certain things, even stuff that was in the files, has come through her, and like other bits of information. So I wouldn't be surprised if there is a case like that where Ghislaine Maxwell, and who knows if there's other people that we don't know about, we don't know their names, that were in these sort of co-conspirator roles, that they are giving these bits of information about these certain people like Andrew, where they're like, okay, like they're burned, dump whatever you can about them because, well, it'll save this person or whatever, or it'll, you know, distract people or give people something to talk about. And it's just Andrew. And now it seems like Fergie and even the daughters being pulled into stuff that, and Peter Mandelson as well. So those seem to be definitely the people that
Right.
there's no sort of restrictions on throwing stuff. Like, even I think it was TMZ had got pictures of Andrew like with a little kid that must have been like 2 or 3 and is playing with this like the little ball that looks like a breast, and like those pictures just seem to be like dropped out of nowhere too. And there's always just these like little
just
bits
been lying around, Ash. Okay, they've just been in a drawer, and then somebody came along, opened the drawer, and went, "Oh, we better get these out. Nothing suspicious, Ash." Okay, it was all just coincidence, right? It's bonkers. It's bonkers. Also, I forgot a point I was explaining mid-conversation about 10 minutes ago about the I can't remember again. Sorry, my brain's all over the place today. Like the ADHD is strong today. It's really strong.
It's always strong here.
I was talking to you about 5 minutes ago. Forgot the point, and I was like, right, I'm gonna have to circle this back to Andrew and hope no one notices. Like, just, you know what I mean? But let's talk about some of the stuff that, because another point is that people dial in on all of the horrible abuse and the transportation, because sadly it's the easiest part to understand. You know, abuse bad, we get it, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many intricate webs of CEOs and doctors and companies that is so hard to understand. Is there an area that you feel you are incapable of dialing in on, and that people are missing out because it is such a vast web of these things? I mean, personally, for me, it's all the medical science stuff. Like, what is he up to? Like, what is he up to? You know, do you see what I mean? So is there an area where you feel like, well, if there was 4 of me, I could delve into this, but you're dialed in on what you're dialed in. But is there an area you feel like not only we're missing on, but yourself is maybe just not had time to delve into?
Yeah, I mean, I mainly have been looking at obviously like the abuse stuff, but then a lot of the financial stuff, and my like a lot of my background is in medical stuff, so I have looked into a bit of that, but not as much as I would like to, because I have kind of been mostly across like the financial stuff, and then what I was saying before about how he generally was with, or even just individually, relationships with more like well-known figures and stuff like that. I think that there's just a lot more people like in the business world that I wouldn't be as familiar with as opposed to, you know, like the celebrities and royal people like that.
But that's the scary thing, right? Because it's easy to see a name we recognize, right? And there's so many names in there that have got such magnitude behind them. I just wanted to ask you, because there's just a lot of areas now. When it comes to, again, the royals and Andrew and Fergie, first of all, what do you think is going to be the outcome for Andrew? And do you think he's going to see a jail cell? Obviously, what they've got him with is if you F around and find out while you're in a position of power, they can get you. But that's got a life sentence, the maximum life sentence on that. So it's either really smart guy who's gone, okay, well, we can get 12 years on him for SA and Ring, but if we go this way, we can get him for double. Or do you think that, sadly, what it's probably going to be is that they want to remove anything to do with any assault references and make it entirely about administration and internal affairs?
Yeah, I think the misconduct in public office, they had such strong proof, because such strong evidence that those emails, like there's no other way that you can interpret them. Like, it's literally, there's even the financial records that he gets this email that has classified information. 2 minutes later sends it to Epstein, and a few minutes later, Epstein's sending money to people that Fergie's indebted to, and there's even like the bank statements for that. But also with a lot of the R stuff and things, I think that their issue with that is they're saying that because of obviously what happened like with Virginia, which is just horrendous, that they don't have a victim to say like, this happened to me. And that's why it's the misconduct in public office is something much more damning with what they have. But my thought on it is that what they might try and do, because just talking to people that I know that are like very successful lawyers and things, I was asking them about this the other day, and because he wasn't actually paid by the government, like, yes, he was getting, lots of money from his mom, but they might try and use that as like a loophole, as like, oh, well, he wasn't actually employed in this post in public office.
Interesting.
Like, so.
Interesting. Yeah, there's going to be something. This is all going to be for the headlines. And sadly, I'm getting this vibe that 10 years from now, we're going to be discussing about the conspiracy theory of the Epstein files. Like, I really get that vibe, because it's one thing to have a bunch of paperwork and a bunch of DOJ files. But if no one's been arrested and there's no crimes and everyone's just super cool and it was just a bunch of like kumbaya going on an island, like, people are just going to be questioning us again. Because I went through the pizza scandal 10 years ago. I was one of those people that was called crazy, you know what I mean? And look at it now. And I just get that vibe. Do you think that with people's instant reaction to be, oh, politicians are incompetent, politicians never get anything right, are we already preordained to assume nothing's going to happen? And have we already pre-accepted that that's going to happen?
Yeah, I think a lot of people now are just things are just such a mess, and they've just been let down so many times. And it's so, even just like getting by at the moment, and so many people are in this like very, very living right on that line, that they're just like, these people have never done anything that they followed through. They just have let people down time and time again. So I think people feel that way, but it's also just those people, like, this was going on for so long, and they because of all the connections, the money, the power, the influence. Like, I just feel like the only way that I think even Andrew, there might be some sort of comeuppance, is if they can't get that loophole stuff sorted, the Peter Mandelson thing, because if they like charge him and something happens with him, it's really hard not to do that for Andrew, because it's just like an identical situation. So that's the only thing. But again, like Mandelson, it's the same thing. Like, they have all, their friends and connections and money and everything. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is what ends up happening.
Mm-hmm. Now, random question, right? This is first of our silly questions, right? Is Andrew going to crack, right? Do you see Andrew being a weak like link in the chain, where he could be like, the king's at it, right? Freaking Trump's at it. And if he did, are we ever going to hear about it?
I think so if Andrew was charged and he doesn't plead guilty, and there's some sort of, they go to trial, I mean, that would be his, pardon the pun, like his trump card to say, oh, well, my brother knew about it. And then that gets into the whole situation with whenever everything happened with Paul Burrell and Diana, and the Queen suddenly remembered that she gave Paul Burrell permission to take Diana's private stuff and underwear and things, because they didn't want to open that can of worms, because the royal family has a bazillion secrets and things they don't want out. And so I think that is as far as he might go, because the other thing that the royal family has to kind of keep him in line is the daughters. And but like even now they're starting to get burned a bit.
Well,
so
I mean, not even the royal family, the criminal pyramid can be using the daughters against him for sure. It's a very different world when you remove, well, you can't buy off everyone. Well, no, but if you tell them what's going to happen to their loved ones, that can be a highly motivating factor. Now, second silly question, right? What the hell happened to Andrew? Right? What the hell? Like that? There's two reasons. There's two factors to this, right? That is like, you've been awake for 4 days in Ibiza, right? It's 1999. You've been wired out your face at a festival, and this is you on the coach coming home, right? Or this boy looks like he has been lobotomized. Okay, like there's nothing good. There's nothing good that can come from this. Like, do you think that he's possibly had a little bit of a heavy hand? I mean, I don't know what's going on in this photo, but what's your take on it? What was your feeling when you seen this?
I just thought that it looked like someone who for 66 years has been able to do whatever the F they wanted, that they haven't, and this was the first time he's ever had a consequence in his life. And because there's been, nothing at like the person that he's just been able to not even do whatever he wants. It's unreal, the stories about his behavior and everything. And even when he was being taken out of the house by the police, he allegedly said, "You can't do this. I'm the Queen's second son." And it's like the fact that he even needs to make that distinction, like, says everything about him, that he, like, his entire life was that he was a prince. And all of this, like, is even like a famous quote that he said when everything was like falling apart with him and Fergie, and the Queen was like, "You need to get divorced because we can't have all these toe sucking pictures and things on the front pages." And
how little did she know how bad it was going to get.
I know,
Okay,
you
bring back the toe picks. Get the toe picks back out. Yeah,
and
but you know, down you
go. He said that in his life he's a prince first, a Navy officer second, and a husband third, and that's like his.
I think he's missed out a couple of titles. All right, I think PDF's in there somewhere, bro. It's interesting, right? Because he can't avoid it. He talked about his mummy quite a lot there. Okay, like how bloody are her hands on keeping the laundry hidden from the public, do you think? I
mean, the palace has some of the best intelligence in the world, and there's just, in my opinion, no way that.
Yeah, that's hired in intelligence, I might add, everyone. Okay, that's not from within the blood group. Okay, that is definitely third-party intelligence that has been brought in. But Ash, right, there's a lot of things that people don't really talk about with the royals, right? There's a lot of positions within the royals that aren't part of the royal family, but they're in charge of the royal family. Like a bunch of weird dudes in like velvet robes that have positions that have been there for centuries. Advisors, right? Like, who the hell are these people, right? I feel like there's a level that we see the royals, their faces are on the stamps and the money. We know who they are. They've got the big palace, but really there's a lot of people that make the cogs turn within the royal sort of hemisphere, if you will. Do you think that it's mainly a facade, right? And there's individuals that are behind the royals that are age-old positions within them that really are pulling some of the strings?
Yeah, I mean, there's even like to the most, I mean, it's not inconsequential, but like in the grand scheme of things, even stuff like when the Queen became the Queen when she's like 25, and obviously it wasn't expected, that she was a super young queen, they didn't think that it was going to happen the way it did. And she had just I can't remember what palace it was, but her and Philip had like just redone their house and were planning on living there. And she wanted to stay at this house. And the men in gray suits, as they call like all the people behind the scenes, they were like, the monarch's place of residence is Buckingham Palace, and like all the royals hate Buckingham Palace. But she said, okay, like, and there's a lot of even like her first private secretary, she wanted her private secretary to be this guy Martin Chartis, who was her private secretary when she was the princess. And they're like, oh, this is not the way we do things. Like, you have to have your dad's private secretary, Tommy Lassell, I think his name was. And then whenever he goes, this other guy has been like groomed for it. And then Martin could come behind him. And they have like all of these really strict rules that, or not even rules, but suggestions that they're constantly being advised by these people who their father was the advisor person. And a lot of what they do now too is they will hire people that were in like positions in the press or positions in police forces, they will hire into the royal family so that it's like shuts them down in a way. Like someone that works quite high up for William and Kate now was someone that was, I think there's some way that he's connected that they were like, oh, we could have asked him about stuff about Andrew, but they're saying now, oh, well, we can't because he works for William and Kate, and this kind of like like they do a lot of stuff like that too.
You know what that is? That's freaking paperwork war, right? That is like, oh well, can't go any further. Got a piece of paper here that says I now work for this. It's mental. It's actually mental. But Ash, you've done another thing there where you've talked about a few things about advisors, right? Do you want to hear a fun story? So about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago, there was a PDF file bust in a place called Blackpool in my country. Well, not in England, right? And this guy was a guy called Andrew. It's not Andrew Lowney, the guy that writes the books and is all good and we all like him. It's another Andrew. I can't remember what his second name is, but it's very similar sounding than that. So we'll just call him Other Andrew. And he was a advisor to King Charles for 4 years at the palace. Knew Charles, knew Andrew, best buddies. He lived next door to Diana when she was raising the boys. There's pictures all over his house of the boys growing up and her teaching them to ride the bikes, and they were very, very close, him and Diana. Now, he also paints the coronation pictures for the castle, right?
Oh my
His
God.
house is full of artwork. He is a royal, not Andrew Morton. He was a royal artist. Now, this man has letters from the Queen all over his house, letters from Diana all over his house, like not memorabilia. What the hell am I talking about? But like stuff that's been given to him by the royals for stuff, right? And he was arrested for talking to a 14-year-old boy, right? And he, on his street, he was the house where no kids the kids were always told to, if you get locked out of your house, you don't go to that house. And he was arrested. There you go. I think that's Lowney. That's Andrew. And we're not talking about Andrew Lowney. It's a different guy, right? Just so you know, not that guy. Just to say, I just can't remember what the hell this guy's name was. It'll come back to me. So the police arrest him, right? They take 16 devices from his home, 16 mobile devices, but he's released 4 hours later and driven back to his home, and he's back online within an hour on a new device. And what is interesting is the reason that I know he was back online within an hour is because Paula M and P Dinah, both women, by the way, with charities connected to children, he had approached and said, oh, I'm going to send you some artwork out. We can talk. I mean, if you're a freaking royal commentator and this boy phones you up and says, I've got artwork for you, I'd love to work with you. That is like you've struck gold, right? But then you find out that he's this PDF, and within hours of being released, he was back on messaging Paula saying, oh, I can't wait to talk to you. I've got this artwork, like as if nothing had happened, right? And to this day, the PDF group that caught him have never, and they've got like 300 convictions. Like they're the real deal, right? they have all had their lives fall apart. They've been gang stalked by police. They've been shut down from doing investigations, and his case has gone nowhere.
Oh my God.
Nowhere. And in every other case, they've had the same amount or even less evidence, and they've got convictions. And to say that this is I mean, she had policemen phoning her house from numbers that were withheld, advising her to remove all of the content about him. Not for legal reasons. They were just advising her. Like, that is a scary level. And that's just a dude that used to advise the king and used to do the paintings. Do you know what I'm saying? Who was obviously a raving PDF file, and used to joke about being, slapping Andrew on the ass when he walked past and things like this. So with what you're saying about what the staff are saying, and now we've got this convicted individual who used to literally rub shoulders with them. We've got the Epstein files. There's a picture here that has been swept under the carpet for years. And do you ever see it truly come to light? Is the monarch going to have to fall for us to know the real truth? Or do you think one day we're going to have a king or a queen who's going to go, actually, no, we're going to air the last 200 years of dirty laundry. We're going to put them all into a reality check and we're going to move forward. What's your take on it?
Well, I think that as well, William is probably I mean, he has always been like, from he was a kid, like, Andrew is a creep, and he seems to be the person like really driving, like, we need to cut him loose. He needs to have consequences. And obviously Charles, I mean, I talked about this in my last video, but one of the palace staff who I spoke to, who gave me a lot of information, they actually, when like COVID was happening, they basically were doing like work at certain other places, and they were at Andrew's Royal Lodge, and they also were at like Buckingham Palace and his apartment and stuff. And I put like, they gave me a bunch of pictures of inside Andrew's apartment at Buckingham Palace and like all his teddies and things, and it's in the video that I just released. But there also was, and there's not a picture of this, but there was a card basically from Charles on Andrew's desk that was coming out. It was given to him after the Emily Maitlis interview had came out, where no one can watch that interview and not be like, this guy's up to his neck in it. And allegedly,
not in sweat though, not up to his neck in sweat. Okay, anything else but sweat, Ash, right?
And allegedly in the card, it's basically said from Charles, I think it's awful what's happening. Everybody knows you've just always been a bit cheeky, and it's awful basically what's happening, and that you're being put through trial by fire by the public. And I mean, even stuff like the Queen, who still, when the stuff's coming out about Epstein, like the day that the day after Epstein was found in the cell, the Queen gave him like the highest honor in the country of the Knight of the Garter. Like, anytime there was something that happened with Epstein, the Queen would like have him walk her to church and stuff. And like, like a lot of British people, they're not going to say it with words, like there's signs and stuff. And that's the way like the Queen was saying, like, oh, I believe my son, like doing these things that were positive signs to people that they were supposed to think, oh, the Queen believes him, maybe all this isn't true. And with all of that happening, she still, after that interview, actually, her and Philip said, you can't be a public royal anymore, like you can't walk out of church at Christmas. And Fergie hadn't been at Christmas or any of the other royal stuff for 20 years because, Prince Philip refused to be in the same room as her.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But the Christmas before last, Charles had Andrew and Fergie walking out of church with him, like I think it was 2022 or 2023. So it's trying to bring them both back into the fold after everything, after even after all that's happened. Like, I just don't think that there's any way that it happens with Charles, like that any
Do you think they tried to use the new king and the coronation as a bygones be bygones moment for some of that?
Yeah, and I think now it's also like the kind of reverse, because you're starting to see, like, yes, the obviously, like we're saying, like the Queen covered for him and did stuff to try and, give him honors and all of that anytime something happened with Epstein. But now it seems like they're throwing everything at the Queen and being like, oh, Charles had no idea whatsoever, when for the last years of her life, like he like, it's not like he knew nothing. Like, and according to Andrew Lowney and stuff, like Charles was involved in the settlement to Virginia and all that. Like, there's, the Queen was in her mid-90s and had cancer like through the last few years of her life. Like, Charles was very involved in everything that was going on. So they're just trying to be like, oh, it was all the Queen. It was all the Queen, when he knew what was going on.
Listen, it's a great narrative to pin it all on the dead mum. All right.
Yeah.
Like, it's a classic one. Okay. I just want to say as well, David Mellon, I do believe, was the name of the guy who was caught with Andrew's boy. All right. So not Andrew, just to show you how well my brain works. David Mellon.
There's a lot of Andrews in this story.
There is. Now, somebody made a comment here, right? And it's been bouncing around my head. And do you think that in the royal statutes, they are pre-programmed, predatory mindsets within the royals? Are we just so beneath them, right, that this statement here, it's only a bit of harmless fun, right, is their mindset when it comes to R-ing, SRA, because it's just one of the common folk, right? It's not a person of class, it's not a person of stature, it's just a bit of harmless fun, right? That's the sort of mindset I can hear. Those are the sort of things I can hear them saying, because they seem so detached, okay, from what we would regard as normality in every sense of the way. What do you think about that mindset, that the reason they've got away with it so long and the reason why they're so invested in it is because it would be the equivalent of someone going out and kicking a dog who's also a psychopath. You know what I'm saying? It's just a dog. Is that how we're seen? We are dirt. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it.
Sorry, my you mentioned dog. My cat's coming over now.
What are you saying? Listen, if you're in Australia, your cat should just be spending its days killing those tiny spiders that can kill people. Right? Why have you not wiped them out? What is Australia's whole ecosystem?
Oh my God, I'm not in Australia. No, I'm not in Australia.
Oh, I thought you were in Australia. Oh yeah, I thought you were in Oz. Tiny little murder spiders.
My cat does not go outside. She's actually the main host of the channel. You probably can't see her on there, but she always sits behind me.
Oh gosh, the tabby. Love that. Love that.
Yeah, she's way more popular than me. But I think that, like, with some of them, like Andrew, the thing that anybody, like palace staff people that have been around him and what's been happening the last few years, is he does not think he's done anything wrong. And I do think there's ones like that, like Mountbatten and all of that. But I also think the other ones, like Charles and stuff, they are just, because they have lived in this bubble where every room they go into, they're the center of attention. They've never not known being absolutely praised, and like, they say a joke that would absolutely bomb for anyone else, and people are like acting as though, it's the best joke in the world. I think that because of that, they just are horrendous judges of character, and they have no common sense or no sort of read of people. And so even the ones that aren't like that they will get involved with, like Jimmy Savile and all these other creeps that there's just no...
Listen, it's not often that I have to solve someone and say that creep is an understatement, right? We're like Jimmy freaking Savile. How does anyone, right, for us, I kind of say this, right? Imagine Jimmy Savile and the whole conspiracy is set in an office block and we're both in it, right? And you and I, right, for some reason have been best friends with Jimmy Savile. And then it turns out Jimmy Savile's Jimmy Savile. We are never, ever recovering from that, bro. Like, you're never recovering from being best buddies with Savile. But somehow there's individuals in our political system that back Savile. Same people, by the way, that back the PI organization, the Pedophile Information Exchange, that wanted to lower the age of consent to 4 in the UK. 4. But don't worry, they rejiggled the numbers and came back a few weeks later with 9 and then 11. And these are the people that were being backed by people that are still walking around. I can't remember who it is, right? Wedger will be able to tell me. But these people are still influencing, still in the positions. And do you think we need to see like a higher penalty for people who, I find that we can't really, because I mean, it's plausible deniability, right? That they didn't know. And sorry, one of my producers has just sent me a message saying Ash is from the United Kingdom, apparently, right? So I do apologize, Ash.
I'm Irish. I'm Irish originally.
You're Irish?
Yeah, I have 4 accents mixed together. It's
all I'm hearing is Gold Coast. That's all I'm hearing is Gold Coast of Australia. So if you've never lived or had an Australian accent, that is.
I've never even been to Australia.
Wow. That is a 10 out of 10 moment.
It's the 4 accents mixed together. It's British, Northern Irish, Southern Irish, and American. So it's all.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Like, could you imagine if you went missing, right? And I'm like, right, she's Australian. Okay. She's an Australian bird on YouTube. Brilliant. That's fantastic. I'm nailing it today, Ash. I'm nailing life today. The ADHD is strong. I'm demographically representing you. It's a good time. It's a good time. So, okay, now I forgot what the hell we were talking about, but let me circle back.
The Jimmy Savile connection.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, like how are they surviving this? Like, how are they getting away with having? I mean, maybe not jail, but there's people who post something on Facebook and then wake up the next day and they're fired. There's police at their door and all of this. And how are their reputations staying intact? Is it just full on blanket corruption? It has to be, right?
I think so much of it as well. Like if this had happened even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it would be so different, because the reason that now, like even the files being released, a lot of that was public pressure, social media, and the stuff with the royals, like, you would never, ever see the mainstream media bringing up stuff with Jimmy Savile, or even like talking about the stuff that we're talking about now. Like, so much of their dirty laundry coming out, and the same with celebrities in Hollywood and stuff, is social media, and is people being able to go on social media, and ex-staff being able to speak out, and people that never would have been able to have any sort of say or platform, and then people even that do have YouTube channels or whatever, that they are able to talk about stuff and tell information that before, all of these like Royal Rhoda newspapers and outlets, they're always like towing the line of, oh, well, we always especially have to protect the monarch, and you can't say stories about this or the heir, and they never would say stuff that you were just saying about, oh, Jimmy Savile and this other person that was doing portraits of the the monarchy and all. But now I think that's why they are finding it so difficult, because they don't have as tight a control. Well, they have no control over social media, and that's why they look so bad, because they just don't know how to handle it.
Yeah, I think as well, there's so many layers of protection. And I'd noticed this with the Epstein stuff, right? Because if you go after a politician and you try and get dirt on them, and then it all comes to light, it's just the political party that would come to their aid to try and help them, right? But if you've got a royal and something comes out, you've got the royals coming to them, and you've got the government coming to them. And there seems to be this preordained different set of rules with royals. And like I say, Epstein was involved in a lot. And I think being able to try and twist his will I think he was doing that through royals as well as obviously politicians and the business world. But that's the only thing I can come up with all of this obsession, unless it's got something to do with royal blood or something. But Epstein had this obsession, and information's one thing, right? But at the same time, I think there's more to it. I think information was one thing, but I think it was more to have people inside those ranks that could influence things. What's your take on that?
Well, there's that quote about Andrew that Epstein said that he was a useful idiot. That, you know, there's the royal family has that thing that, like, you know, they can go into places and make connections and invite people and
That's
this
exactly
that, like,
it. Yes,
other people
like,
can't.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like if Stalmer wanted to do a big dinner event, okay, that seems so freaking weird, right? Compared to, oh, the king is having a royal event and all of this stuff. And I think you're right. I mean, I just think there's so much less attention put on the suspiciousness of important people gathering around royals than government. And I think we've just solved it. I think that's exactly what it is, because yeah, I think that's exactly. I think it's less attention on the gathering of important like, for example, if a bunch of musicians and movie stars and other politicians and other royals all started hanging around with Trump or Stalmer in a big meeting, I think people would be like, well, why are you not running the country, mate? Like, what are you doing? Whereas with the royals, you're like, oh, fancy. You know what I'm saying? That sounds fancy. And yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's very easy to go under the radar. Just speaking of under the radar, Ash, right now that the cogs are turning, right? The freaking cosplay events that bloody Meghan and Harry are doing, like when they went to Africa, they went to Colombia, they're not royals. I think that's the same thing, because after Harry and Meghan came back from Africa, there was like a gajillion-dollar medical trade deal that was done, and billions of dollars is enough to ruffle feathers. If you're a company that makes gauzes, Ash, right, and you've been getting the contracts for Africa for years to build the medical gauzes, and then all of a sudden Prince Harry makes friends with another company that happens to make gauzes, and now the contract changes over. There was a lot of that seemed to have been taking place. And do you think that the fake royals, especially with Harry and Meghan, there's a lot more underlying deals taking place, and they're being used as pawns with plausible deniability, right? Because, hey, they're not royals. They were just out there doing their own shenanigans, right? It's a great layer of protection. Do you think that they have always been pawns to be used and for us to ignore because they're Harry and Meghan, right? Like, it's hard to take them seriously.
Oh, I mean, like, there's so many cases like that. Even there was an article in The Guardian that I found from 2001 that is literally titled "Prince Andrew, a royal accident waiting to happen." And if you read this Guardian article, it is wild to read it today, because every single thing that's happened is somehow mentioned in this article. Peter Mandelson is in the article, Ghislaine Maxwell's in the article, all these people, and the whole article is saying, it came out just when he'd been announced that he got this trade envoy position, and the whole article is just saying everyone is absolutely taken aback because we know he's just going to use this role to, like, enrich himself, and he has this relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. Peter Mandelson was really pushing for him to get this role, and this is in 2001. And in the article, it's also referencing there was like a situation that happened with the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie Edward's wife, back then, with like a marketing thing. And I mean, there's also like Zara and Peter Phillips have been doing ads for milk in China and stuff. It's like, and they don't even have titles, and there's all
I'm sorry, milk in China.
Yeah.
Like, what was the board meeting like for that? Do you know what I mean? Right. What we need, right, is a royal family dude from another country to come and sell our milk. All right. Like, what? Whoa. So, but again, though, people don't seem to realize that royals are not allowed to profit, right? They're not allowed to profit from their position. If you're listening, Fergie, mate, right? I don't know if anyone told you that. but we've had loads of examples of them, you know, trying it and having their shenanigans and all the rest of it. It's the least of our worries now, though. I'll be honest. Like the problem has gotten to be so much bigger, but it is just repeated patterns of elevating themselves above everyone else and believing they're better. They can get away with it. We're just animals. We're just cattle. All the rest of it. And the one image from the files of Andrew leering over that woman's body on the floor, and Andrew with Virginia. I don't know if you've been watching, right? Andrew's ex-girlfriend, right? Who I like to recall. I just like to refer to her as a crazy biatch. Okay, like have you seen her on Piers Morgan? You seen him the last couple?
Okay, right. My gosh!
It's like, I'm not being funny. I'm almost at a point where I'm like, she is the bunny boiler ex-girlfriend. Like, she is psycho obsessed, right? She really is. And to be going out and saying this is fake, everything's fake. I mean, she's not wrong. The only thing she's right about is her claims about where all this ties back to. I think that's about the only point in this where I'm like, all right, maybe it does. You know, who's Israeli in charge of all of this, Ash? You know what I'm saying? It could be that, but other than that, the girl is on one. Ash, like, give me your take on Lady freaking Madhouse.
Oh, I saw the Piers Morgan one where he actually like cut her mic because she was like absolutely just being horrendous about the victims, and she just, I mean, I think it's again like a case of people that have so much wealth, so much privilege, and nothing to do, that like she has just like brain rotted through her own mad conspiracy, whatever. And there's probably 4 people telling her she's right, and she's, you know, feeding off it. And obviously she's getting attention to going on Piers Morgan and stuff like that. But I mean, I think that there's those people, like there are those people in those royal circles that they all back each other up, and it's all like the good old boys club. And I feel like that it has to be some sort of like delusion with her, because it's not even like the usual good old boys club where they're like, oh, well, you know, maybe she was 16, but you know, she looked at 8 and all that crap that they have. But with her, like, it's just this level of like,
it's wild.
It's absolute lunacy.
It's actually fascinating to watch, Ash. It's actually fascinating. It's like when you see those ants that go into that spiral ring of death, right? And you just can't not, you're just like, I know something probably really bad's going to happen here, but I can't not watch the train wreck. Like, it's fascinating. I wish you would get a reality TV show, if I'm being honest. Like, don't tell me you wouldn't watch reality TV with, you know, you would, Ash. You'd be secretly watching it going, oh, wow. That's an absolute clanger, because our whole house would be pictures of Andrew with red string, going to a picture of Epstein, going to another piece of red string. Do you see what I'm saying? And
she'd have like a terrible like AI Photoshop of like the victims hanging out with like, I don't know, Mickey Mouse or something. And she's like, it was Mickey Mouse all along.
Yep, exactly, man. And I mean, just in case any like really low-level trash reality TV networks are watching, can we get that happening, please? Right? Can we get that happening? Also, don't tell me you wouldn't watch Meghan and Harry's reality TV show, because at some point she's beating the crap out of Harry on camera. Okay, it's going to happen. Okay, she's going to throw him down a flight of stairs or something. But it's
I'm gonna do a video on them soon, because not only did like a lot of Palace staff tell me some good stuff about them, but I said this in my video, an immediate family member of mine is very close friends with someone who, like, when you type into Google who's Prince Harry's best friends, like this person comes up. So I had dinner with them in the fall, and then probably about 3 or 4 months ago, and they were telling me a lot of stuff about them. So I'm definitely going to do a video on them soon.
Yeah. Well, look, I just want to address something on the side here. Yes. Ron would watch that show. Okay. Ron loves reality TV show. Desperate Housewives isn't a reality TV show, dumbass. Okay, that wasn't reality TV you were watching. Okay, bro. Okay, that voiceover should have been the hint. And listen. I just want to say, Married at First Sight has started up again. Okay, Married at First Sight has started up again. I'm just getting that out there. All right. Don't care what anyone says. I love reality. The worse the reality TV, the better for me. That's all I want to say. But look, Ash, we're hitting the hour. What's your conclusion in this? Where do you see all this going?
I feel like, honestly, the pressure with social media is the only thing that's really like keeping this going, because all the other ones, like, they just want to bury it, and they are gonna, I feel like the stuff with Andrew and with Mandelson, it's gonna go on forever. They're gonna be saying, oh, we're investigating. I hope that obviously something happens, but I hope they don't use one of these loopholes to get out of it. And it's just, nothing can surprise me that continues to come out with this case, because it's just like, you literally could not ride it.
Yeah, you really couldn't. And one more question I want to ask you about, right, is the supposed ex-girlfriend, ex-wife, or supposed daughter, Katrina something or other, of Epstein, the one that's like 400 million up now, right? I feel like they've just handed the torch to her. That's what I feel. We're having a discussion just now that Epstein is more of a title, right? And the possibility, because Saddam had a lot of body doubles and things like this, and it's not unplausible to imagine 3 business meetings taking place around the world with 3 different versions of that man, given very few word answers and people buying it. And there's something much bigger to the Epstein case that is being, if eating people, getting a royal thrown in jail, okay, and outing half of Hollywood as being PDF files is the stuff that's okay for us to see, right? What in the God's name are they hiding up? Like, there must be like direct emails from Tupac and Diana and like Elvis and like all of these people that we think are dead, who are now just living over the ice wall with new identities. Like, it has to be something huge, right? It really does. Or it's the people they're protecting, and it's the same story. Where do you fall on it, do you think?
I just don't think that networks like this and everything that's happening, like, it's not going to disappear because one guy that goes away. And one thing that I don't think, like, a lot of people talk so much about, like, you see people saying all the time, like, oh, well, this was going on with so many people, and how did no one know, and stuff like that. And it's like, people did, like, all these people that were around this, like, you couldn't go into his house and not know, like, that people going on these vacations with him, and not at the island, like other places. All these people were seeing this, but there's so much of it at this level, the way they treat people, the way they just conduct themselves. Like, there's a much more than just this network of people, and it's not going to disappear just because one guy's gone. And there's it. We've seen through the files and everything.
Yeah, it's the criminal pyramid.
It's sophisticated.
Yeah, the criminal pyramid never goes away. The blocks inside it are just replaced. That's it. And I think the day of super powerful predatory men is over. We're now in the era of the, incredibly couture black suit, tiny female monster that is going to be running this now, and more on that later. But Ash, look, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. It's been nothing. Thanks
so much for having me.
It's always a pleasure. So tell everybody what you've got coming up. If there's anything else you want to plug, feel free to do so. And of course, all your links are in the description. And again, I just can't thank you enough for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I have a couple more videos coming out. I've been doing a lot of like the Apatow crowd, like James Franco, Jonah Hill. I released one about him this week, and a couple of those people, and then some other Hollywood people. And then, like I said, I'm going to do a kind of William and Kate and Harry and Meghan video soon as well, with like some behind the scenes stuff, and then follow picking up some other people from like Epstein stuff, but doing them as like the way I did the Andrew one, like focusing on one person kind of at a time. So I'm probably going to do
10 years
one
of
on
content.
Maxwell.
Yeah,
oh my
10
God.
years of content. If you just focus on individual ones, man, you work your way through them all, Ash. Quickly, Maxwell in the glasses during that interview. If you're going to be doing a video on Maxwell, point out the fact that I can't find a single picture of this woman in glasses. Sunglasses, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I can't find her wearing glasses, holding glasses, talking, nothing. And now she's in the most important meeting ever. And she sat 47 miles away from the camera at the other end of a table saying no comment in a pair of glasses with a fake nose stuck on it. Okay? So, yeah, it's a wild one. But look, thank you again for being here.
Do you know who she's a little tidbit for you? Do you know who she's become like friends with in prison? Who's wild? Do you remember that Elizabeth Holmes, who the black turtleneck, who did the like blood drop fraudster? She used to do like a very low like baritone voice. She's like a blonde.
I don't know who you're talking about. I've Googled her and now I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Big fraudster. They're apparently because they're the same person now.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Brilliant. That's great. Awesome. This is wild. But look, Ash, always a pleasure. Have a great day out in Australia. I hope it's not too hot for you there today. Be careful of the spiders. And we'll see you again soon, Ash. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
From you guys at home, I will see you all soon. I'm going to be possibly throwing up a little live over on my channel later. I need to have a couple of rants about some things, but I'm going to need to run to the shops just now because I need to get milk and it's 9 o'clock at night. Like, what is my life? Right, listen, Ash, take care. See you all later. For the mods and the admins, thank you, and we'll see you all next time. Peace.
Bye, guys.